it's a little bit like being, banned from the golf club. I wasn't going to go there anyway, so it's not really relevant.
Richard, have you been?
I haven't been to the pub. No, I'd like to get banned from both. I've told James for some time. I haven't been to his either, but I will do. We've been too busy working. When I've got time, I'm going to work on getting banned from both of their pubs. I want a badge to that effect.
Two choices: buy a brand new electric vehicle or perhaps convert your petrol car. The automobile upcycling industry is growing and the idea seems sound. Why scrap a perfectly good car if you can swap the engine out with a battery and motor? Well, I'm really delighted to tell you that I'm joined now to get their thoughts with two absolute car gurus, 2/3 of the Grand Tour team. Let's welcome to the show James May and Richard Hammond. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Let's start with you, Mr. James May. What do you make of this idea? A lot of companies springing out there producing kits that can be dropped into cars, take the old petrol engine out, put an electric motor in, you can keep your old car.
Yeah, I think on the face of it, it sounds like an excellent idea. It's no different from renovating a house and putting in modern central heating and modern electrics and that sort of thing. But I suspect, well, there are two things. It's a little bit more complicated than just whipping the engine out and dropping the motor in, because electric cars require different control systems and slightly different instrumentation, but you can get around that with a touch screen or so on. The other thing is, I mean, I'm no businessman, but I'm amazed that people can make this financially viable. I know people are doing it with things like London black cabs, buses, delivery vans. Whether or not they could make it work for your average family hatchback, I don't know.
I'm looking at, there's a company up in Bicester who does kits, electrogenic they're called. They're doing one for a Mini, James, for a classic Mini, and it costs about 16.5 grand. Is it worth it to keep your Mini battery powered?
Well, I have a Mini, not battery powered, and actually it's a very, very mint and unusual example, and it cost about that, and I wouldn't want to spend that again to convert it to electric.
Just to be able to plug it in.
Yeah.
Richard, where are you on this one? A lot of people are saying, look, what's the point? Some of those cars, even some of the classic cars that people are converting things like E-types and all sorts. They're saying, look, you're losing the essence of a car if you're taking that kind of car and sticking an electric motor in it.
Yeah, a couple of points to go through. Firstly, the purely romantic, some cars, like a Jaguar E-Type, and I've just been driving one, it's just broken down this morning. The engine, that 3.8 straight 6, is the whole point of it, to take that away. You can get round the romantic ideal, take a car like Citroën SM, beautiful, stylish looking thing. It's already built. It was built 50, 60 years ago. Carbon footprint of manufacture is in the past. Its engine was never a particularly reliable nor special thing. By all means, convert it. So the romantic side of it can be put to one side immediately. But I'm guessing we're only talking about this today and at all because we're looking at it from an environmental perspective, in which case, 2 points there. One, can we stop, please, imagining there's got to be one or another solution? This isn't a binary solution to the problem. It won't be one or the other. It won't be that polarized. Electric car technology is coming on. The infrastructure is coming on. Give it another realistically 30 years, the tech and the distribution and manufacture of the electricity will be up to scratch and it will be the cleanest solution. So really our job as consumers over the next 20, 30 years is to keep that technology advance going, and that is by helping development, and that inevitably comes down to our wallets. If you're spending money on electric cars right now, 60% of its overall carbon emission, carbon footprint is in the manufacture of it. If you do enough miles, if you're lucky enough to have a charger on your drive, then that's the perfect solution for you. It's already there. That's the greenest thing you could do. Plenty of people aren't in that position. And if you're converting a classic internal combustion engine car to electric, don't forget 60% of the carbon dioxide, the carbon footprint of manufacturing an electric car is in the drivetrain and the batteries. So you're still churning out a lot. The car itself, the shell of it, has already been made. You're not emitting any carbon dioxide in building that, but you're emitting a hell of a lot in making an electric drivetrain. That said, you'll be doing your bit to help the technology advance towards a future in which we will have internal combustion engine cars running on running on hydrogen and running on synthetic fuels. In the case of James's Mini, the greenest thing you could do is keep using it. How many miles do you do a year in it?
In my Mini?
Yeah.
a couple of hundred, probably.
Well, there you go. So don't
And it's
forget
a
the
Mini,
engine.
for God's sake. It's hideous.
It's undrivable, and it's not
Yeah.
it's not polluting anything when it's sitting there stationary. They've become a symbol of hate
Mm.
unnecessarily, and even then the internal combustion engine never damaged anything. It was the fuel, and there are alternatives readily available now. Synthetic fuels with absolutely no fossil fuel in them already exist.
So,
They're expensive, but for some users there's a solution.
okay, so I mean, do you both think then that this push for 2030, we've heard that the Labour government want to come back to 2030, the cut-off point of buying a brand new car that has to be electric. Do you think that that's in vain in a sense when there's other alternatives? Richard, you're talking about synthetic fuels. James, do you think that perhaps electric cars are not going to be that one and only silver bullet that we're being led to believe?
No, Hammond is right. There will be other solutions that we don't yet know, things we don't know we don't know. There will be a mix of internal combustion with hydrogen and synthetics, as he says, hybrids and electric cars for many years to come. Because even if they manage to apply the 2030 date, it will only become illegal to buy a new internal combustion engine car. It won't be illegal to use one.
Yeah.
So they will be around for a very long time. I'm not very keen on governments interfering with things like people's choice of car, or in fact the government interfering with motoring at all, because don't forget they all told us to buy diesels, and now they're telling us we mustn't. So I think, if you want car advice, read Autocar. Don't listen to the
Don't
government.
talk to the government. And just to that point, James, there's a great graph. I've seen various versions of it doing the rounds and has been for a while, that says even if we could continue the current uptake of electric cars, which we can't. One, because early adopters have early adopted. Two, China and other nations are withholding the essential minerals we need to build the things. But even if we could and did, by 2060, by far the majority of cars on the world's roads would be internal combustion engine. So we have to look for other solutions. We have to solve the problem with the fuel in internal combustion. Hydrogen, as you rightly say, JCB are already building hydrogen-powered internal combustion engines. The problem with that is distributing hydrogen. You can't keep hold of it. It escapes if you're trying to pipe it to a petrol station. But anything that goes depot to depot, you just need a pressurized tank of hydrogen. You can burn it in an engine. You never see buses in the petrol station. They fill up once in the depot. What
Yeah.
I'm getting at is its application. The government cannot say everybody must use this, because it don't work for everybody. Everybody must use the optimal solution to their own transport challenges with an eye to the most environmental aspects of it. And that's already there. Engineers have already solved this problem. It's governments fiddling with it that get everybody confused.
Now, listen, you
Well,
two.
sorry, I was going to say it's worth saying that throughout the entire history of the car, there has never been only one fuel on offer. In the early days of the
Exactly.
cars,
Yeah.
they were electric, steam, petrol, then they were electric, petrol and diesel. They're currently electric, petrol and diesel with a few hydrogen. I've had a couple of hydrogen fuel cell cars. It's unthinkable that it will be one. I think there will
it's
be
for the
several.
simplicity of winning votes. It becomes a vote winner when you can just strip it all down to a binary thing.
Yeah.
We've all got to go electric, and we're the people to take us there now. We can't, and the industries will tell you the same. We can't all go one route, and we don't need to. And in fact, we mustn't. It won't work. It gives us an unachievable goal that we'll fail to achieve, and then we'll forget about it. We're better off looking at what can be done.
Now, listen, you two have driven your fair share. In fact, you've driven probably my share and everybody else's share of all sorts of cars. When it comes to having the enjoyment of driving, I'm getting a lot of text messages saying, I won't give up my V8. I haven't heard anything worse than upcycling. Driving an electric car, is that as fun, James? I mean, can you have as much fun as we've seen you through the years driving a V8 around, but driving an electric car?
Well, I've been driving my electric car today, and I find them fun, but in a different way. Because I'm a bit of a nerd about machinery, I enjoy the thought of an engine, and I like contemplating what is actually happening inside it, which is remarkable when you're driving along in a car that requires you to change gear and match revs and all that sort of thing. But on the other hand, an electric car that is silent and polite and generally fabulously quick, there are other aspects of it that I enjoy. I mean, I'm in a fortunate position because I have a mixture. I have an electric car which I use mostly for general driving, but then I've got a few toys hidden away that I can occasionally take out for the sheer pleasure of interacting with internal combustion.
To make the noise. Richard?
Yeah.
I found it pretty exciting when I flew off the top of a Swiss mountain at the end of a hill climb
Ah, yes, there
competition.
is
The
that.
fastest thing I've ever driven, which was electric.
Yes.
They can be exciting. I think you have to remember to divide it into two things, especially when we come to the decarbonisation of the transport infrastructure. There's a bag of syllables. There is the purely utilitarian, which, yeah, can be achieved by whatever means. It doesn't need to involve ownership. You could just press a button on your smartphone and an autonomous, anonymous Tupperware box powered by eggshells, doesn't matter what, transports you to where you need to go. But there's also the side of it, which is these things are rooted in the human psyche. We built them as the machine that enables us to get everything we need in life beyond shelter. As soon as you want food, water, companionship, a mate, whatever, you've got to leave your cave and go get it, which is why humankind invented a machine that does it.
Okay.
So they move us physically, therefore they move us emotionally. So we're always going to get passionate about them.
Listen, before we go, I'm going to ask you an uncar related question. I'm going to ask you a pub related question. You both know what's coming. Your friend Jeremy Clarkson's got a pub. James, you are now both publicans. I hear that you are banned from Jeremy's pub. But before we get to that, I want to hear your thoughts on banning smoking in pub gardens, James, as the government are proposing to do. What do you think?
Well, I think that's ridiculous meddling, really. I can't imagine that it's of any benefit to humankind, really, to say people can't smoke outside in the pub garden. And I think the government on the whole should leave pubs alone. They're having a hard enough time as it is. If a few people like the chef or a few customers want to go out the back for a crafty fag, then I'm very happy with that idea.
And do you have any idea why you're banned from Jeremy's pub?
No, I only found that out the other day, but it's a little bit like being, banned from the golf club. I wasn't going to go there anyway, so it's not really relevant.
Richard, have you been?
I haven't been to the pub, no. I'd like to get banned from both. I've told James for some time, I haven't been to his either, but I will do. We've been too busy working. When I've got time, I'm going to work on getting banned from both of their pubs. I want a badge to that effect.
All right, we'll see if we can do something. Listen, it was unexpected to be joined by you both, so thank you